Hey everybody, this is Perch, and let's talk about Storm for a moment. And Storm is one of my favorite characters. I would say not top, but definitely was a character I really liked in the X-Men. I thought that the X-Men 201, where Storm defeated Cyclops, even though she didn't have her powers at the time, was a pretty well written issue. It was as much about Storm as it was about Cyclops. It really kind of closed the door on a lot of where Cyclops' head was at and kind of his time with the X-Men. And it was a transition period that clearly had good kind of long-term implications worked out in their minds. It would lead to X-Force, Madeline Pryor, all those kinds of things. If you think back to the amount of planning and prep and everything else that went into that moment in the comic, pretty incredible. You had the Life Death comics with Storm and Forge preceding that. A lot of really great stuff. And so she was a character that I've always felt Marvel could do a lot with. And I think Marvel did too. Once upon a time, they made her the leader of the X-Men. She was synonymous. I mean, as key as Wolverine. She was one of the people who, unlike Cyclops, could keep Wolverine in line. There was, I think, as a character, she was well-rounded. She was evolved. She had overcome the claustrophobia and some of the things that had haunted her. She'd learned to live with powers, without powers. I think pretty awesome character, all in all. And I think this was a time period where Marvel really knew what they were doing when they was building up a character. So Marvel's been kicking around this idea of it will be the year of Storm, and I thought, man, I've heard this before. When they were saying it last year in prep for the Araku and Storm being the regent of Mars. And I went back and I did a Google search for a Year of Storm and Marvel. And I had to tweak it a little bit because you got Year of Storms. You got things that have nothing to do with comics. You had to really mess with it to finally get to an answer. But no less, in the last 10 years, 6 times Marvel or writers have said it's the Year of Storm. 6 times over 10 years. 60%. And it doesn't really feel we've ever gotten the Year of Storm. I don't know. I have yet to meet anybody who feels that putting her on Mars and what Al Ewing is doing is actually super compelling for the character. I've yet to meet anyone who thinks that. So Storm it does have a new series coming up. It just announced. It's announced for May. That's interesting. So they're soliciting comics in May now. Just couple days after bringing the stuff out for April. Weird, isn't that? Anyway, so in May, they're announcing they've actually got some of the comics in May already rolling to shops and in press. Spider-Man and the X-Men, we started to see some solicitations for May. Again, right now it's January 23rd. But anyway, be that as it may. No pun intended. There is a 5-issue limited series because, of course, there is. As the reader wrote in, and I think this question is coming up in an upcoming video. Is like, why is DC doing so many 6-issue series? It's like I don't know. Why is Marvel doing so many 5? But at any rate, 5-issue limited series. Now here's something kind of cool. Ann Nocenti is a writer and of course was very familiar with the characters as she was the editor back in the 80s. Artist Sid Kotian, who did the Gambit limited series with Chris Claremont, if that name sounds familiar. They are going to do a 5-issue series set in the 80s. And here's where I feel like just somebody needs to slap Marvel upside the head. So, Nocenti says, I joke about how cool it is that Marvel brings back us old-timers to sing our greatest hits for the Legend series, but it truly is an honor and a joy. That's a very true statement Nocenti's making there, on both good and bad. Said, when editors Mark Bazzo and Drew Baumgartner then asked me to write a story with Punk Storm, I want the story to reflect her outfit. I thought about punk musicians like Iggy Pop and the Sex Pistols, and their archetypical rebellious attitude, she continues. So it was exciting to start from there and think, what would Storm rebel against? Her own powers, the X-Men, being a team leader? I knew it couldn't be classic Storm, always calm, regal, and serene. It would be wild Storm running from herself. And there was a period of time, certainly a period where Nocenti knows very well, as she edited that run, where that was that was what was going on. So that was where Storm was at. She was running from her own powers and kind of trying to find her place in the world. Went for the Mohawk look. What grabbed me about that little quote from Nocenti was the when editors Mark Basso and Drew Baumgartner asked me to write a story with Punk Storm. That so I've talked to a lot of people who are asked to pitch at Marvel, and that is the kind of statement you get a lot. Editors come up and say, "Hey, it'd be cool if you remember when Storm had a mohawk? Pitch me a story with a mohawk Storm." Now, the mohawk was part of her appearance, certainly, but that is their understanding of Punk and some of these things. It is surface level at best, and it kills me every time. It's not, hey, can we do a story of when Storm had lost her powers and was trying to figure out, or maybe she had just regained them. She was trying to figure out where her place was in the world and how she fit and really was really they try in that era. Can we do something like that? No, it's, hey, Mohawk, you know what? That's punk rock. I hear people talking about punk rock on Twitter and Instagram. Let's do a punk rock story. This punk rock with punk rock. That's how this reads. So it drives me a little nuts, and it ties in completely to what I said at the beginning of this video. It's, we want to have the Year of Storm. We want to really build this character. Well, how should you build this character? Well, in fairness, they did something right. They went to Ann Nocenti, who has a really good handle on the character, had edited the character before. And even in her comments, she's like, I started thinking, what would Storm rebel against? Her own powers, the X-Men being team leader. So right there, Nocenti's actually trying to give us a compelling story with a lot of depth to it. She is actually taking the question and the pitch seriously. So good for her. But you ask, why do we get so much stuff like this? Because this is how it's led. And then if you look at the solicitation and what Marvel fed to places like Newsarama and CBR and others, this is how they described it. This May, grab your insane hold hairspray and your manic panic dye. It's time to fan out your mohawks as Storm of the X-Men returns to her 80s punk rock roots for a new flashback limited series set in the era when Storm was into leather and spikes, showcasing her fan favorite punk Storm look. Fuck you. I mean, sorry. No. That's the absolute worst. So again, hats off to Marvel. They did something right. They went to Nocenti. That's a great move. But Jesus, you read this stuff, and it's no wonder you're getting some of the comics you're getting, because to them it's like, hey, let's do a Mohawk story. That's where it's at. Anyway, I'm looking forward to this comic. And Nocenti writing a book is something I'll pick up. He's not doing the interiors, but Alan Davis is a pretty awesome cover, which you can see on your screen, so that's pretty cool too. And hey, Marvel's soliciting a book for May 24 in January. Sure, no problem. People are going to say, but they've done that before. Not at this volume, they haven't. No, they have not. Not this many. There's a lot that is going out to retailers right now for May and June. But anyway, this book is coming out in May. Storm, looking forward to it. This is a great period of time. Hope it can capture that kind of feel. Definitely wish we'd stop with the nostalgia, like Nocenti said, hiring the old timers to sing the greatest hits for the Legend series. How about you just hire the old timers permanently and let them come up with new music? How about you try that? Anyway, are you buying Storm? Let me know in the comments below, and thanks for listening.